23rd August 2021. Dawn had just spread soft sunlight over the quiet residential area of Winchester Hills when the air was torn apart by the deafening sound of multiple gunshots. The sound of bullets echoed through the streets, which were used to the sound of early morning birds, startling the neighbors who abandoned their breakfast and ran to their balconies to find the source. In front of a spacious house, a white BMW stood motionless. The front windshield was shattered, shards of glass scattered across the tiled floor. The driver's seat was covered in blood, and inside, the body of a middle-aged woman was tilted to one side, eyes half closed. That is Babita Deokaran, a senior official of the Gauteng Provincial Health Department. In that moment, all sound seemed to die down, leaving only the heavy silence of the death that had just occurred. Babita is not just any civil servant. She is a key witness in a corruption scandal involving COVID-19 medical equipment contracts worth hundreds of millions of rand. Her passing not only took away a human life, but also served as a chilling warning to anyone who dared to expose the truth, silence or death. The broad daylight shooting in a safe residential area has shocked Johannesburg. Immediately, the burning question on everyone's mind: who wanted her gone so badly that they hired a hitman to execute her on their doorstep? And if a whistleblower like Babita can be killed in such a public way, is there any justice in South Africa? Babita Deokaran was born in 1968, grew up in South Africa, in a working-class family that valued integrity and work ethics. At 53, she serves as interim finance director of the Gauteng Department of Health, one of the richest provinces, but also one rife with financial scandals. During many years working in the state apparatus, Babita built the image of a diligent civil servant who did not easily succumb to political pressure or hidden power. Internally, she is known by her colleagues as a principled person who always demands transparency in public spending. She believes that the health budget, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, must be used to the maximum for patients and the public health system, and not fall into the hands of those who take advantage of the situation to illegally enrich themselves.
But also as the way of ensuring that employees in all government departments can have that confidence of coming forward if there's any wrongdoing that is happening, that they can communicate that information so that they can also be protected. Because what really happened to Ms. Deokaran, it's really unfortunate, and we're saying it should not have got to that level. So in an effort to ensure that action is taken, it is for that reason that Premier David Makura saw it necessary that we have an independent forensic investigator to probe.
Before her murder, Babita was a key witness in the investigation into the PPE, Personal Protective Equipment scandal at Tembisa Hospital. The case involves contracts for the supply of medical equipment, masks, gloves, and protective clothing worth hundreds of millions of rand. Many contracts are suspected of being inflated and signed with ghost companies or close businesses, causing serious losses in the anti-epidemic budget. Babita Khonshinam Gyu Kachung to Tai Chin Quantron, Ma Kon Lang Woi Trukti Bao Kao Voiko, Quan Jiu Trajak Biet, Siu, Kung Kaptong Tin Vin Hung Gyao Dik Mo Am. She knew full well that what she was doing would anger many powerful people, but she still cooperated firmly. It was the combination of her sensitive position, the amount of information she possessed, and her uncompromising attitude that made Babita a target. In the context of South Africa, where politically and economically motivated assassinations are not uncommon, the fact that she was tracked down and eventually murdered just days after providing further evidence has left a deep impression on society. For months before August 23, 2021, Babita Deokaran's life is gradually covered by unusual signs, signaling an approaching danger. At first, it was just small details, but enough to make her feel uneasy. Strange cars, without license plates or with mud-covered license plates, often parked near her house for hours on end for no apparent reason. As she left her home to go to the Gauteng Health Department headquarters in the Johannesburg CBD, other cars appeared a few hundred meters away, traveling the same route, sometimes with different drivers or number plates. Babita was alert and perceptive. She realized she was being followed. Many times, as she drove away from work, she noticed a dark sedan following closely, keeping a steady distance, then suddenly disappearing at major turns. Another time, while shopping at a supermarket near her home, she noticed two men standing in the parking lot staring at her, saying nothing, but clearly not intending to shop. The feeling of being watched made Babita more alert. She shared this concern with a few close colleagues and some longtime friends. In their conversations, they advised her to temporarily leave Johannesburg or at least move in with family for safety. However, Babita remained steadfast in her work, especially her duty to collaborate with the Special Investigation Unit SIU, on the PPE scandal at Tembisa Hospital. She understood clearly that the information she was providing would shake the interests of many powerful people. But instead of backing down, she continued to provide documents, invoices, and internal reports, helping investigators trace the flow of illicit funds. For Babita, silence was tantamount to complicity, and that was something she would never accept. It was this determination that escalated the situation. The threat signals were no longer implicit but became more overt. The sound of a car engine starting outside her door at night, anonymous text messages with vague but warning messages, and even the time a strange man approached her in a parking lot, asked her point blank, "What do you think you're doing?" and then walked away. Each small event is like a step, bringing Babita closer to the boundary between life and death. But she still chose to move forward, even though she knew that with each passing day, the danger was tightening its grip around her. In the final days before her murder, Babita Deokaran made what could be considered a fateful decision. She handed over a series of internal financial documents to the Special Investigation Unit SIU. These are no ordinary reports. They contain data on personal protective equipment, PPE, contracts worth hundreds of millions of rand, along with evidence of price gouging, shell companies, and payments to crony contractors. Among these documents are said to include lists of contracting companies, information about owners, as well as evidence of connections to politically influential individuals. Babita organized, collated, and took detailed notes before transferring, ensuring that the data was clear enough for investigators to trace the money. She understood the gravity of what she had to offer. It could disrupt the networks of corruption that have been entrenched for years in the public health system. The transfer took place just days before she was assassinated. According to some colleagues, in her final conversations, Babita appeared more anxious than usual. She once said frankly that she had gone too far to turn back, but also emphasized, "If I stop, no one will continue." For those who benefit from a corrupt system, Babita's actions were the last straw. Not only does she know too much, she is also actively sharing information with the investigating agency, a move that makes it difficult for them to control the situation. In the South African context, where witness gagging is still common, assassination orders are an almost familiar way to eliminate threats. And then, just days after the files were handed over, Babita was murdered right outside her home. It was no longer a threat. It was the final act of those who wanted to silence her voice forever. Morning of August 23, 2021. The weather in Johannesburg is mild and the sky is blue. Around 8:30 a.m., Babita Deokaran had just completed her morning routine, taking her daughter to school. She drove her white BMW home to Winchester Hills, a residential area that was quiet and relatively safe compared to other parts of the city. As Babita's car turned onto the road leading home, there was nothing unusual about it except a few cars parked here and there. But as she approached the gate, suddenly a dark BMW 3 Series appeared from the front, rushed forward and stopped in front of her car. It all happened in a matter of seconds, too fast for her to react. The other car door opened and two men got out, each holding a pistol. They headed straight for Babita's white BMW. Without a word of warning, gunshots rang out in succession. 9 shots were fired at close range, piercing the windshield and car door, hitting her in the chest, shoulder, and head. The force of the bullets was so strong that some of them penetrated the seats, leaving holes in the rear interior. Babita collapsed almost immediately, blood quickly spreading all over her shirt and the driver's seat. The car was still running. The front wheel was skewed due to her unconscious reflex when attacked. After making sure the target was no longer able to resist, the two gunmen calmly returned to their car and left the scene at high speed, speeding down the main road leading to the highway, Ed. The deafening sounds of gunfire sent neighbors and passers-by into panic. Some people ran to Babita's gate and encountered a horrifying scene. Broken glass everywhere, the smell of gunpowder still strong in the air, and Babita motionless, head tilted to one side, eyes slightly closed. A neighbor immediately called the 10,177 emergency service and local police. When paramedics arrived, they confirmed that Babita had died at the scene from multiple fatal injuries. Police cordoned off the scene, collected shell casings, and recorded witness statements. A security camera at a nearby house captured the moment the BMW 3 Series blocked the way and the two gunmen opened fire, providing investigators with important evidence to track down the perpetrator. The assassination took place in less than a minute, but was enough to sow fear and shock the entire community. A senior official, in broad daylight, shot dead in front of his house. This sends a chilling message. In South Africa, those who dare to touch the interests of deep state power will pay with their lives. Just 3 days after the assassination, South African Police Service, SAPS, investigators and special forces units conducted a series of raids at several locations in Johannesburg and surrounding areas. As a result, 6 suspects were arrested: Fakamani Hadebe, Sanele Mbele, Sifiwe Mazibuko, Zwelibanzi Manyike, Misolisi Mikize, and Sfiso Nkala. All were professional assassins for hire, with criminal records involving violence, armed robbery, and illegal possession of firearms. Immediately after the shooting, investigators collected images from surveillance cameras in the streets around Babita's home. Video shows a dark-colored BMW 3 Series blocking her car before 2 gunmen get out and open fire. Another camera at a gas station a few kilometers away from the scene recorded the same BMW stopping for gas the day before the incident, with at least 2 of the suspects clearly visible. Analysis of the suspects' cell phone data provided a string of information that matched the timing of the victim's surveillance. GPS signals and calls between the groups showed that they had been following Babita for several days in a row, following her usual route to work and to pick up her children. Some of the messages also hinted at the timing of the action and confirmed the amount of money to be received after completing the job. During interrogation, some suspects admitted to being hired for significant remuneration, but refused to reveal the identity of the order taker. They claimed that their mission was to ensure she could not testify in court. This testimony, while not enough to establish a mastermind, has reinforced the theory that the assassination was directly linked to the PPE corruption investigation. The quick arrest of the 6 suspects was seen as a professional success, but the public remained concerned as the real mastermind remained at large. Whistleblower protection organizations, anti-corruption groups, and Babita's family continue to call on the authorities to pursue the investigation to the end, as otherwise the murder will serve as a grim warning to anyone who dares to stand up against corruption in South Africa. Despite Babita Deokaran being a key witness in the Tembisa Hospital PPE scandal investigation, no long-term safeguards were put in place to ensure her safety. Ideally, high-profile whistleblowers like Babita should be placed in a witness protection program, given secret accommodations, given identity changes, or at least given police protection. However, in this case, all protection measures were only short-term, mainly when she attended some working sessions with the investigation agency. The lack of an effective protection system reflects a serious gap in South Africa's laws and policies. Civil society organizations and the media have repeatedly warned that whistleblower protection laws in South Africa exist only on paper, while in reality many whistleblowers face the risk of being threatened, attacked, and even assassinated. Babita's death shocked the whole country. Thousands of people, from colleagues, friends, to anti-corruption activists, attended her funeral. The image of people dressed in black, holding white flowers lining up to see her off, became a symbol of grief and anger. Many people carried placards with messages such as "Protect whistleblowers, save the truth, justice for Babita." After the funeral, a series of calls for legal reform were raised. Organizations such as Corruption Watch, OTA, and Whistleblower House are calling on the South African Parliament to urgently amend the law, adding substantive protection mechanisms, financial support for whistleblowers who lose their jobs, safety guarantees for their families, and emergency intervention measures when there are signs of threats. The Babita case is not only an individual tragedy, but also a stark warning to the South African judicial and political systems. If whistleblowers are not protected, corruption will continue to flourish, and voices for justice will be silenced one by one. After nearly 2 years of investigation and completion of the case file in 2023, the Babita Deokaran murder case was officially brought to trial at the Johannesburg High Court. The 6 defendants, Fakamani Hadebe, Sanele Mbele, Sifiwe Mazibuko, Zwelibanzi Manyike, Mzolisi Mkhize, and Sfiso Nkala, all appeared in custody, wearing orange prison uniforms. The trial attracted considerable public and media attention. The trial attracted considerable public and media attention. The prosecution detailed the entire crime process, from the defendants receiving orders and the payment, following the victim for many days, to the plan to stop the car and open fire on the morning of August 23, 2021. Key evidence includes surveillance camera footage, phone location data, and witness statements. Faced with an undeniable mass of evidence, all 6 defendants pleaded guilty. Some testified that they were only executors and did not know the identity of the person who had hired them. However, the court still determined that this was a deliberate, carefully planned assassination, and the level of brutality was an aggravating factor. The final sentence was announced, a total of 95 years in prison for all 6 defendants, divided into sentences ranging from 6 years to more than 20 years, depending on the role of each person. Upon hearing the verdict, Babita's family expressed some relief that the gunman had paid the price. However, that consolation was mixed with bitterness. The mastermind behind the assassination had yet to be brought to light. A representative of the Special Investigation Unit, SIU, told the press that they are continuing to investigate and are finalizing the case to identify and charge the person or group of people who ordered Babita's murder. They stressed that only when the mastermind is punished will justice be truly served. For many, the 2023 trial is only part of justice, the part about dealing with the gunman. The question of who gave the orders still hangs in the air, putting pressure on authorities to continue taking action. In the public eye, the Babita Deokaran case will not be closed until the truth is finally revealed. The story of Babita Deokaran is more than just a shocking murder in Johannesburg. It is a vivid and painful testament to the terrible price one can pay for standing up to corruption in a system permeated by deep state power. Babita is not the first, and sadly will not be the last, to be silenced to reveal the truth. Her assassination exposed a cold reality. In South Africa, gunshots sometimes ring out faster than the rattling of a courtroom gavel. While corruption still permeates every corner of the state apparatus, those who dare to denounce it are often left alone and in danger. The current legal system is not strong enough to protect whistleblowers. Babita's death has sparked outrage, but also left a nagging question. How many more lives must be lost before the law truly stands on the side of justice? Whistleblowers should not only be honored, but also protected with real mechanisms, from safe housing, financial support, to 24/7 security when necessary. Babita's funeral, with thousands of people dressed in black, carrying white flowers and holding signs reading "Justice for Babita," became a public appeal to the authorities. If whistleblowers are not protected, society will lose people who dare to speak the truth. This story leaves an undeniable message. Justice cannot come only after death. It needs to be enforced while the whistleblower is still alive, so that they do not have to choose between telling the truth and saving their lives. And the question still hangs over South Africa. How many more people must pay with their lives before the law is strong enough to protect them?